Live from the city of Los Angeles. It is March 6th, 2023. I'm your boy, Duane Cofield, host of Drug Dealers to Businessmen podcast. This is the weekly tap in, and I'm tapping in. What's really good, y'all? What it do, what it do. Tap in with those who are watching live, those who are on the replay, man. We certainly appreciate it. Those on the podcast. We couldn't do it without you, so thank you. Thank you sincerely. Those who are watching on YouTube, we certainly appreciate that as well. So all those who are hitting us on all of our socials, man, it's love, love, love. And we couldn't do it without you guys. Those who are listening from all over the world, thank you. You're giving us a reason to exist. So thank you. Yeah, man, it's been an exciting week. A lot of things going on. If you guys are tapping in for the live, and this goes on every Monday at 7 p.m. For those who are just tuning in for the first time, make sure you guys hit the comments and likes and everything else that you need to do so you don't miss another episode. Not that you can't watch it on the replay. So I don't really trip off you actually watching live. I'd rather you guys spend some time with this, rewind it. You know, if there's a jewel, write it down. If I drop something, write it down. If there's a book suggestion, things like that. Because that's how I listen to podcasts, man. I actually have to listen to it over and over again, really, for it to resonate. It doesn't really resonate a lot of times the first time. So thank you. But anyways, man, this episode, we're actually talking about God is intentional. And a lot of times people, whenever I start talking that God stuff, man, people are like, oh, wait a minute. I'm like, man, hold on. You do have to understand what his intentions are, right? And if we play it on our life, like if we look at how intentional God is with our lives, and that's, I mean, we talked about that, we talked about the gifts that we give. And a lot of times we don't recognize them because they're easily covered in obstacles, easily covered in work, and easy this and this and that. But God is intentional with everything that happens to us, even the bad stuff, right? That perceive the bad things, right? But you think about how, in terms of intent, how he has us set up 5 or 6 moves down the line. That's the crazy part about it, right? So I'll give you a couple examples, but one, right? So a position where you guys know I teach sometimes, so I teach. And there was a time where I was at a distant campus, and it was like, hey man, we want more professors on campus, etc., etc. What's going on, Tanisha? Appreciate it. And I was like, man, so end up not giving me any classes this semester. But I'm like, okay, so let me go look at this other opportunity. I see another opportunity that's closer to my house, which I've been wanting to look at. And when you think about God's intention, it not only led me in that direction, but it got me to understand what's going on. Samuel, ATL tapping in. It had me to understand that I needed to prepare myself in a different way. There's a reason why I'm not getting calls back on these other things, right? And when I started to apply for schools or whatever, that was 5 years ago. That was before I had real legitimate experience and, learned how to develop a resume that was more catered towards academics. So now I learned that. And as soon as I put it out there, it was like, okay, so now things have changed, got a pretty good response. And there was a good vibe between me and the individual who sat down with me. So I said all that to say, look at that. When you look at it like, man, this door closed. Yes, but how you can't have 2 doors open and expect to be warm and comfortable. It's okay. You can't assume that this is the last door that's going to open for you. And that's a lot of times we do that. We like, man, this is it. And if this opportunity fails or I can't see this one through, then there's nothing else. Man, there's a reason why that door is closed. And there's a reason why there's resistance there. They're trying to make at least go look at this other direction, right? Because you wouldn't even be looking over here had there not been any resistance. If there was just, hey, this is, everything the same, you doing the same thing, getting the same results, there'd be no reason to grow. And when we go to the gym, the comfort zone is where everybody is. Right? You think about it, everybody's in those light, 20s, 30s. That's the comfort zone for a lot of people. So you rarely see people hogging up the hundreds, the 80s, the 90s, the 75s. Those are always there. You go to the gym, those are always there. What's going on, Veronica? Condolences to you. Hope all is well with your family. Um, but yeah, you go to these different parts, and it's like, man, there's certain parts where people are just hanging in their comfort zone. And that's when God says, man, you know what? Let me get your ass up. Let me move you from something that you've been kind of comfortable with and push you. And it hurts and it's not comfortable. And oftentimes it's usually the worst time because we're like, man, I'm not ready to grow. Doesn't that sound crazy? Right? I'm not ready to grow. God, you tripping, man. Now I gotta grow. I don't feel like growing. And that's our discomfort with growth, right? We get discomfort with that. And the only thing that we should be comfortable with is discomfort, right? Because that's going to be the only consistent thing as long as we're growing. We're not going to be comfortable. There'll be periods of comfort, right? Where you appreciate what you have. Don't get me wrong. But for the most part, you should almost have this tension of what you and God are really like, okay, God, I'm trying to pull you pushing me, I'm pulling, but we got this thing going on to where you really are stretching me. Because even if there's a push-pull mechanism going on, somebody's getting stretched. And when we look at God's intention, if we take it back to just what is intent? What am I trying to get done? Right? Oftentimes we look at the means or what happens in between, which are the minutia, the things that really don't matter. How is this being done? It doesn't matter, right? Pay attention to the long-term result. What are you trying to get done? What is God really trying to say when these doors close? Do I need to grow? Do I need to learn? Do I need to expand? What's going on, John South Central? Um, what do I need to do? Because he's telling me something that I need to do. And God's intention is always correct. Right? It was a Jay-Z quote that said, man, everything is for your good. And that's a really difficult concept to grasp. Like to say everything, man, everything. Right. And you have to be I would say more a seasoned individual, right? That's lived a little bit. They used to say that in the pen all the time. Live a little bit, homie. Live a little bit. You got to live a little bit. Basically, you got to get your experience up. Because the more you experience, the more you understand what God's overall intention is with your life, right? What type of legacy you're supposed to be leaving, what type of impression you're having on people, what type of intention that he's using you for. Because we're just vessels. That's where we got to separate, right? We got to remove the ego, right? Because we're just vessels in order to do things that God wants done. And he's changing lives and using us as that, right? Everything that we're going through, as long as we sharing it, right? Or at least leaving notes for our kids and our grandkids in the form of a journal or a diary, whatever you want to call it, right? Because we thinking that these aren't miraculous times. Man, you better document it. What you mean you ain't documenting it? I do this, I write, I do post, right? I'm doing all that, right? Contributing to my legacy, right? And this is what we need to focus on. We've always been themed on that. Legacy, legacy, legacy. And always be striving to do better and leave better and understand that you're not just learning for yourself. You're not just taking these strides for you, right? Even if you come up short, somebody will finish that race. I promise you that. In your family, you don't know if it's your son, your daughter, you don't know who's going, but somebody got to start the race. And somebody's got to get uncomfortable and intentional with this race. Like, hey, yo, we racing, dog. We going this direction. Hell or high water, whatever the case may be, we are going this direction. And I may not see the seeds or the fruits of whatever it is I'm doing. I may not see it. But I tell you what, I will leave a legacy. Somebody's going to document grandpa, the great grandpa. Somebody got this shit popping a long time ago. And this is what I'm encouraging you guys to do. Embrace God's intention, even if it's uncomfortable, right? Because it'll be evident. And most of the time when we see God's intention, we see it in threes, and we're re-reminded, like they always talk about, God confirms things in threes. Yeah, he'll confirm his intention. You'll see it. It'll be really clear what you're supposed to do. But oftentimes we ignore it for Lucifer shit, right? For the enemy's suggestions. Oh, man, you tripping. You don't need to. What you doing that for? You already, that's what I tell you, the enemy inside of me. You too, man, you 40-something years old. You're going to get a PhD. You be 50-something years old. But that's the enemy talking. giving you numbers, giving you man numbers when you dealing in faith goals. Why do man numbers matter when it relates to faith? Who cares what man's talking about? And that's a hard concept to grasp, right? To understand that we're on a different level, right? When everybody else talk about a different level of consciousness or whatever the case may be, you heard that term before. But a different, I'll even term it as a different level of understanding of what we're into. And once we understand that, we can take advantage of it, right? Once we understand the position we're in and we have the tools around us, we understand that God's around us, so we can ask for whatever we want. We understand that we have angels on the ground, so we're protected from when he sends that darts because they are coming, especially if he understands that you got in touch with God, you understand his intention, and y'all getting ready to accomplish this together. You think he's about to sit there and let that pop and ride just like that? Man, you tripping. He coming with the heat. So, but as you understand, hey man, I'm gonna send you on this path. Don't trip. It's gonna be hard. You're gonna feel like quitting. It's gonna suck. But I promise you, somebody will reap the reward. Not me, God. Nah, it may not be you. And you got to be okay with that. You got to be okay with setting your intention. Or what did you intend to do with not seeing the results? That's a hell of an ego twist. Because naturally we're set up to saying, I need to see the results. I need to have my name on my pool, in the middle of my pool, right? Like a boxer who can't sell their house. You guys might get that joke later, right? But that's the ego. I gotta put the pool. No, you don't. It could be somebody 2 or 3 generations down who don't have to pay for Harvard. That's what I'm on. That's God's intention. He trying to get you set up, man. Get this shit cracking. You think you just baking biscuits? That's all you think you think you just frying chicken parts? It goes way beyond that. That's what you doing now. That's in the immediate moment. That's what's popping right now. That's not what the long-term play is. Teaching you how to manage a business. That might not even be your first. It might be not be your you don't know what God got popping for you. You have no idea. But once he's one of them ones where, like, you know what I'm saying? You ever had one of the homeboys, whenever they call, you be like, man, I'm in the car. Because you know what's gonna pop, right? They got everything. You know wherever they're going, it's gonna be lit. You know how they get down. You had one of them cats. That's how God is. When he call, you already know it's to the good. We to the good. I don't care what you talking about. I know it's to the good. So whatever happens, right? Even if it's a human letdown, because those happen. Humans let us down. We put a little bit too much expectations in humans and not necessarily in the God, right? And God is omnipresent. He's everywhere, everywhere. So is the enemy, though. So you have to be aware of which one you paying the most attention to and who you having the conversations with. I hear people having these enemy conversations on a regular basis. I'm like, man, you are destroying yourself, homie. You got to talk better about things. And if you can't, write it down until it starts to make sense, until you change your verbiage. Because our conversations are what is destroying us a lot of times. It's what we say about ourselves. It's what we believe about ourselves. But first, we got to tell ourselves that. Then that belief starts to sink in. Damn, am I really stupid? I've told myself, damn, you stupid about 10 times. Your mind gonna start believing that shit. Oh, I guess I am kind of stupid. And then what happens? Self-fulfilling prophecy fall after that. You start to act it out. You start to, hey, I have this belief system that's flawed, right? Because a lot of times the flawed belief systems are usually passed down by other flawed people. So when you see something in ignorance, like gang banging, and no disrespect, but that's just passed down over generations after generations, right? Nobody said let's flip it and turn it into something different, right? Dare to be different in a world of followers. That's a tough one, right? So until somebody says, you know what, we breaking this mold and we going a different direction, you'll see it perpetuated over and over again. The mistakes, right? I was talking to my students about that today. I'm like, man, back in 90, what was that? 95, 96, 96 to 98. I had a hell of a run from 98 to 2000. And guess what else was popping? The internet, homie. And none of my homies told me nothing about it. None of them. because they didn't know. We could have put that money, man. We'd have bought Amazon back then when we had that kind of cash. Homie, my background would look different. It'd be waves. You'd be like, damn, what's he talking to us on? A yacht. You feel what I'm saying? Because we had the opportunity. We just didn't have the game because it was perpetuated ignorance that we thought was cool. Man, I used to see that shit in San Diego. I grew up in East Dago, then moved to Southeast. So when we was in East Dago, we used to see all them cats with the Toyota truck. We used to play football, Hoover High School. It was all Crips up there, right? And then some of the homies before they actually moved to Southeast moved out there. So we used to play football with all them cats. And all them cats used to come up there in their trucks. It was KMCs, it was Toyota. It was when you put the yo on the truck. It was then. That's how old I am. Right, and that's how long I've been around the game. When you had only people that had feelers was the same ones that had phones back then, and they had Cadillacs with 5Ds. So this is, and I'm seeing that, and that was perpetuated because I thought that was what was going on. I thought that was what we were supposed to do: get perms and Turkishes, and right, because this is what we saw, and they were flawed. Why? Because that's what they saw. So this stuff is usually passed down. I was talking to my wife about that. Somebody got to break the mold. Somebody got to say, no, ain't no divorce going on. Somebody got to say everybody goes to college. Somebody got to say we business owners. Somebody got to say this is the standard of the family, period, homie. You feel what I'm saying? Somebody has to set the standard and stick to it and say, this is it. Family crest, have pride. You can build family crest. A lot of people don't know that. Get your family mode so that you start to have people have a sense of pride in who they are. And this is your family. Sense of pride. And start to move it. Okay, we all been on some bullshit. Like everybody, my mom. I ain't saying that like that, my family, but I'm saying though, if you know you had a family line and everybody been to the pen, like shit, okay, somebody got to stop this. Somebody got to say, nah, you're going to private school, buddy. We're not taking you to the hood. You're not going over that house. You're not kicking it with that relative. Somebody got to shut it down, right? And start to lead it another direction. Okay, so you getting married? Okay, so when y'all getting married, are we just going to kick it and move it? That ain't what we doing anymore in this family. Everybody's getting married. You can't tell. This is what we doing, and this is family leadership. This is when you start to lead your family, right? You ain't telling people what to do, but you setting the example, right? And you following God's instructions. So you be intentional with God. You guys came up with a long-term plan. I want to see generational wealth with my family. Okay, well, God will work out the details. Okay, well, doom, I got to do this. Okay, you need to do this. He starts to road mapping. Okay, you're going to hit this pothole and this is going to lead you over here because I want you to see this, because if you don't see this, you're not going to know about this turn over here. Right. So if you don't see this first turn and recognize it, like football, you don't recognize this defense, then you ain't gonna recognize this other stuff. If you don't recognize the defense, you're not gonna recognize the opportunity to beat the defense. Right. So I need you to recognize this first, and then I'll lead you over here. This is how God works, right? And I don't have no books. I don't read the Bible, none of that stuff. This is directly from the source. So whenever I come on here, whatever energy I have, whatever gift I try to give, just thank him. I have nothing to do with this, right? I work for the dude. 100% I work for the cat. And all I'm doing is delivering the message with no charge, right? Because other people want to charge for game, right? I'm one of them ones like, man, we got it for free. We had to bust our ass and, other things happen for this game. But it was God that gave it to us. How dare we sit up there and try to sell it to you? That's blasphemy. You dig? And I'm not saying that there's other ways you can get people to contribute, all that stuff, but you can't sit up there and charge for game that God gave you. Now, if you paid for it, and you're like, man, well, I paid 6-7 racks, get your money back. But once you do that, then that's that. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, God's going to keep you going. Doesn't matter. Even when you feel like you've dumped your cup into somebody else's and yours is on empty. Yes, you will get your cup filled. Don't be afraid to give somebody else, even split your last drop, because that's when you'll be compromised, right? Because If you don't, if you sit up there and try to hold on to the last drop, what's that say about your relationship with God? And I leave a moment of silence for you to think about that. If you sitting up there questioning whether you should split your last drop with somebody, what is that saying with you about God? You don't believe he's going to give you another a sip. Ah, this my last drop. So you should have enough. This your last bit of game. This everything. I used to think like that. Like, man, I'm giving up all this game. I tell people all this stuff and don't nobody give it back to me. Like, how you think you get it? That's what a wake up call came, man. Like, where you think you get it from? If they ain't giving it to you, you think you just pulling it out your happy ass? Hell nah. God is delivering that to you, homie. Recognize game and give him his props. So even when you sit up there, I had to get it all by my lonely. No, you didn't. Uh-uh-uh. Uh-uh-uh. God gave that to you, dog. Period. No matter what it is. So why wouldn't we roll with his intention? Why would we question what he wants for us? Because it looks unfamiliar? Because it's disguised as something else? Take the trip, go see that person. You got to show up. We had a whole conversation in an episode about showing up. And what you'll get if you show up is so important to show up. Don't miss it. Because if you do, man, I remember the other week, it was raining cats and dogs. My son, my wife was like, oh man, I don't know if we should be out there in that rain. My son had his best game of the year. So the enemy wants to put doubt on you, right? He always wants to put this kind of doubt in your head. Like, man, you probably shouldn't be moving. Ah, man, you should. Ah, man, shut the fuck up. That's what you tell the enemy and proceed accordingly. Because you too, with your logical mind, will talk you out of your stuff. Why? Because it's trying to protect you against danger. And a lot of times what we don't know appears to be dangerous, right? I don't know what's around that corner. I don't know. Yeah, man, it's the one who goes after it, right? There's a whole quote on that. I can't even think of the quote that they talk about. The man who goes after adventure, right? It'll come to me. But right, big reward, right? Big risk, big reward. You got to take a chance. And why not? Who would you rather take a chance with? An unsuccessful homie or God? Think about that. Ah, man, I'm gonna go into business with you. Gonna go into business with this cat, and you ain't gonna go into business with God? Man, you are tripping. And how do you go into business with God? You bet on your damn self. Period. You bet on yourself because you know who you're backed by. I don't know who this fool's rolling with. He might be chilling with Lucifer. Like, man, as soon as he leaves your house, he goes and chills with Lucifer. I don't know what you deal with and how you and your God work, homie. But I know mine and how mine works. So I'm cool with that. Right? I'm a roll with my God. My God ain't steered me wrong yet. I'm talking about on everything. And I feel fantastic. And I'm like, man, even the hurtful stuff that was supposed to be perceived as breaking me down has taught me so much that I was on the right path. My father passed. I knew I was doing the right thing by spending so much time with him because I had no idea. And it wasn't until his situation that I actually had to spend more time with him. We was both running the streets, but we were around each other my whole life. That hurt, but it also taught me something, right? One, how to be prepared for things, right? He had all his stuff in order. So I learned so much from my dad, right? So ain't no wasted experience, homie. None. That stuff is all he taught me everything he needed to teach me. Period. He did what he was supposed to do. Job well done. Salute, homie. Period. Right? And me, I'm carrying it on. And I know what God is talking to me about. Here's what you need to do. So I sit up there. That's why I talk to y'all about Khan Academy and stuff like that. That's humbling, man. But it works. Everybody should be doing that, especially those with kids who are potentially about to be in high school. That stuff's gonna come back to you. Put hands on you. Algebra, all that stuff. I'm trying to tell you, homie. You feel me? So that's why I tell you that. I tell you every step, every book I buy, even before I'm finished reading it, I'll tell you I got it. I'm not afraid of you learning something before me. That's a hater move. I'm gonna drip this shit out to you. I'm not dripping nothing out. Here's a whole bucket, dog, and I got the water from over there. You can go get your own bucket and drink if you want to. You can have some of mine. It doesn't matter. There's water for everybody, right? You can talk that drought shit. There's water for everybody. There's undiscovered stuff. So what's that mean? There's money for everybody. If there's water for everybody, there's money for everybody. If that will float your boat. There's enough for everybody. So there's no need to hate on another man or hoard information. I don't know anybody who hoarded any information and has been successful besides Coca-Cola. And even then, if they were that successful, there wouldn't be any other soda options. So hoarding that, yeah, we can't make cola, but we can damn sure make pineapple. We can make cherry. We can make grape. We can make another form of your Coca-Cola. So you can hold on to that shit if you want to, but you can't stop what God has intended, right? So why hold on to information? And the thing about it is, if you holding on to information, you tucking your cup, right? You know, some of the cats got their hand over their cup, they ain't spilling nothing. You can't get a sip or nothing like that. Guess what? When new drink come around, guess what you still got in your cup? Some of that old shit that was already passed around. So you can hold on to it, protect it, but there's no new information. That's why it's so important to move around and wiggle into different areas and situations. You could stay in your lane and dominate your pond, right? But you won't grow. There's no growth there. So you got it sometimes. And a lot of times, this is what I want to tell you guys, man, because I know advice is subjective. And I know sometimes it can seem like, man, that worked for you, homie, but it ain't going to work for me. You right. But you got to find out what works for you, right? I had to do these metrics cases with my consumer behavior class. And every time the numbers are different. The mechanics and the formulas are exactly the same, but they always be like, Professor, we get different numbers than you. I said, it doesn't matter. Look at the formulas. If you guys are doing the formulas correctly, your results are going to differ. We're all different individuals. We all have different plans and ideas and what we think is deemed as successful. So I don't expect your results to look like mine, but I expect the formulas to be the same. I expect it to be like I'll always be reading. Lucky I ain't got my shirt on today. Got my other brand on today. But my brand is always be reading. I feel like reading books can get you out of any situation in life. I don't care what it is. You don't know how to read, you start with a dictionary, right? Start with some Dr. Seuss shit. Start with the basics, right? And expand your vocabulary up until you are up into Shakespeare and whatnot, right? So that's what I expect. But some people differ. You know what I mean? Some people say, well, I can't read. I'm not doing anything else. I quit. No, do something about it, homie. There's no excuse right now. There's the internet. There's no excuse, period. So yeah, that advice is subjective, but the methods are still the same. You still have to work hard. You still have to seek opportunities. What kind? That's your business, right? You still have to wiggle. Where? That's your business. The ocean works for this boy. Now, the other things may work for you. That's on you. I'm not telling you, man, this is mine. This is what it looks like on me. This is what the suit looks like on me. It may look different on you. I ain't telling you to buy my suit, but I'm telling you to get a suit. You dig what I'm saying? I'm not telling you to do exactly what I'm doing. Not exactly. But I'm saying, no, we can't sit here. We can't let grass grow under our feet. We got to keep it moving, stay into something, right? Even if it's failing, man, show people how to fail and get up. Be an example for somebody. If it ain't an example for your homies, be an example for your children. If it ain't an example for your children, be an example for your nieces and nephews. If it ain't an example for your nieces and nephews and your family members, just be an example. You don't know who the F is watching you. You have no clue. You feel what I'm saying? So be an example for them, right? Fitness. Hey, man, I'm hitting the gym constantly. My boy that he run marathons and he do triathlete stuff. We were in a speaking group together. What do we have in common? Achievement. We want to get better. And he was a dope speaker, got better. And I remember when we were in the Toastmasters, He didn't even know how to swim. He was taking swim lessons then just to learn how to swim. Man, this dude swims in marathons. He be in Manhattan Beach in the middle of the ocean, all that stuff. So I can tell you follow God's intention and not be afraid of success or failure because those are inevitable. There's only two options. We're not going to go in mediocre. We're either going to sink or swim. That's scary because the first thing we generally gravitate to is shit, man. I don't feel like being at the bottom. What? Who thinks like that? Some people do, and there's nothing wrong with that. Stinking thinking is inherited, right? We inherit that frame of mind. You dig? You said you'd be surprised at how much your coworkers watch you and become motivated by you. And then ones that quote unquote hate on you. That hate is just misguided love. If I don't pay any attention to you, then that's different. But if I hate on you, man, that means there's some love somewhere deep down inside there, right? They just misguided lovers. They really love you. They just don't know how to express it. You got to deal with that, right? Your shoulders got to be big enough for that. But yes, they do. They're watching everything you do, how you handle things, how you walk, everything. You be shocked. You think nobody envy me, nobody wanna, man, you have no idea. So you need to walk accordingly, right? You being a gift, of leadership is something different. There's a responsibility that comes with that. The responsibility to be somewhat decent and good. Why not? What's going on, Joe? Why not be better than you were? What's wrong with improvement? A lot of people think improvement equals work. Improvement equals a lot of things. It doesn't equal work, but it's achievement. There's a lot of things that come along with that, right? Self-actualization and good feelings. So let's accomplish something, man. And God will put it in front of you. Most of the time, we try to walk away from it, try to avoid it. Oh man, I gotta, yeah, like me and this G man. Here you go. Tell y'all right now how this joint is sitting right here. This is the 2021. I started because it's been sitting there. That's how long I've been postponing and procrastinating. How about that in 2021 though? It was like the first edition. But it's been sitting there. You can tell. But I'm like, dog, you gotta move. You gotta get your ass out there and you gotta try it. And I've been doing Khan Academy for the last probably 6 or 7 months straight. Just to get my algebra up a little bit because it's been a long ass time. And people that are fresh out of college, I mean, fresh out of high school, they just had algebra. This is nothing to them, or fresh in college and like college or algebra, but it's been a minute. So what do I need to do? I got to go through that thick ass book and embarrass myself and humble myself. But it's sitting there for a reason because that's God's intention. It didn't get thrown away, didn't get water damage, it didn't do any of that. It's perfect. Why? Because God's intentions are usually 5 or 6 steps ahead of anything we could possibly imagine. So he's putting it in front of us. Even we do it and we may think we're doing it at an impulse. Man, I'm just buying this because I need to get ready. It's 2 years down the line. God knows in the back of your mind, you ain't ready. You ain't gonna be ready for 2 years. But I'm gonna have it sitting here for you. So when you are ready, there you go. And it's gonna be like, man, that's perfect. So is God. And his intentions are as well. So that's what I can't stress that enough. Even when the bad looks bad, it's for the good. It's even for you to see, right? You can learn that. What they tell you? What's the other saying? You can learn a lot. You can learn from a fool. My dad would tell me that all the time, man. You can learn a lot from a fool. How to be one or how not to be one. You know what I'm saying? So that was deep for me, man. It resonated. Like I could dig that, right? So let me pay attention to everybody. I don't know where the message is coming from, when it's coming from, how it's coming to me. I have no idea. But I know how God works. I've seen it happen over and over again in my life. He's shown me and proven to me who he was, right? Walking example. Shouldn't be here. Not really. And if you look through these eyes, you'd be like, yeah, D, So that right there is a blessing for me. That's how I know God's got something better in store. And I'm not to say the looking at my position to say I'm always looking at something more advanced. No, I'm appreciating stuff while I'm here. I'm like, God, if you don't give me nothing else, man, we straight. We square. Like, you know what I'm saying? You like one of them homies like, hey man, we square. We good. You don't have to give me nothing else. That's how I am with God. Like, dog, you don't have to give me nothing else. You giving me everything. A second chance, beautiful family, time with my dad, right? Live in a great city. I can do a podcast. Dude, you overdoing it. And who doesn't want to hear that? Right? Who doesn't want to hear that? I don't need all this other stuff to confirm that God is real. That's ego stuff. This is what I asked for. This is exactly what I asked for, and I got it. I'm straight. God, we straight, man. Hey man, he needs a blessing, right? So why don't you talk to that cat down there? Because he needs, man, I'm telling you, man, that dude needs a blessing. And that's when God starts to work within you. When you start recognizing that you can be a blessing to other people, that you have a gift, that even how God has treated you, your testimony can be a gift to somebody. So my thing is, don't sit up there and try to figure out, like, man, how can I? No, 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 no. You are the gift. The more God blesses you, the more He's preparing you to bless other people. You'll see it all the time. People that get this super rich and they don't. What more can I buy? My butter can only be so damn soft, right? I can only eat so much lobster or whatever I eat. There's a limit. Like, just give me a burger. What else am I gonna do with all this bread? That's a hell of a responsibility. So let me do some good with it. And that's when you see people like Jeff and his wife when they give away all this money because they're like, I probably can't spend $1 billion. You know what you thinking about? You like, okay, yeah, you can doing some frivolous stuff, but when you think about it, like that's a lot of money. So what do I really need? And how much of an impact on the world can I have? Can I really change the world? Do I have the intent to change the world? Well, God may give you that blessing one day. And you need to be right on the inside, right? You need to be right on the inside so that you can become a blessing for somebody else. And that's where the ego gets removed from us. We totally connect with God, man. Now we're one, man. God, let me just what I need to do next, right? What's my next calling, right? Because even when I'm in my teacher mode, I'm impacting lives. Right? When we set up these businesses, and I don't talk about me, you don't see my name, the such and such presents. Man, I don't give a shit about that. I don't care if you know what I do. That's not my intention. But what I am showing my family, though, is that you can build family business around family business. You dig? You ain't got to keep promoting other. You can do your stuff within, build it within, not just my do your own thing. Have your people start helping you, have them start believing in your brand themselves. That's how you did it. Do it. Tabasco, all these cats that built their family brands, build yours. Show some pride, right? Let's have some pride in who we are because God got the intention for us. Man, so I'm on a roll right now, of course. My apologies, but it's love. But yeah, man. What I'm reading right now, because I'm about to conclude the weekly tap in for this week. You guys have been beautiful, and I love the energy that you guys are doing. But that's what it's all about. We're a gift, and the more God blesses us, the more we can be a gift to other individuals. So I'm asking you, connect with your God. See what the intent is, even if it scares you. Even if it scares you, you get confirmed. They talk about the confirmation in threes. God will confirm it. Well, this is what I want for you. And you set it with him, right? This isn't a one-off thing where God just tells you what he wants for you. You set the intention with God. And once you do that, that combination, the universe just starts to fall out your way. But do not get it twisted. There will be obstacles. There will be challenges. This isn't an easy road, but it's the only road. What I'm reading now is, yes, you got to keep putting God first, all without a doubt. And you'll see one of the things that you'll notice, right? Look at everybody who's achieved this high status, whatever the case you may be. right? The only one giving props to themselves is Snoop Dogg. No, I'm just playing. But for the most part, you know what I'm saying? What's up, Cuzzo? Um, for the most part, people are paying homage to God because some of this stuff that we go through, we like, man, I don't know how that happened. I have no idea how that happened, but you do. That will conclude our weekly tag. Oh, let me show you guys. So what I'm reading right now, um, what I'm listening to. All right. So I took it back. Let me pull it up. I went kind of OG with you guys, man. I went back with my guy Les Brother, but I bought another book. So I'll show you guys what I bought. Let me just pull it up. If you guys just be be patient with your boy. Um, I'll pull this up and show you. I bought a book called In Neutral, Getting to Neutral, and it's by Russell Wilson's trainer. Let me show you, share this on the screen with you guys. But that's not what I'm currently listening to. So I'm just FYI that. I'm actually listening to my guy Les Brown right now, and I got his greatest hits, like a greatest hits thing. So getting neutral is how to conquer negativity and thrive in a chaotic world. So it's a little bit more lenient towards athletes, but it's a really good book so far. Russell Wilson narrates it. But what I am actually listening to currently is the Les Brown audio collection. Now, this dude right here, I've been listening to for many, many, many years. He was just featured on KBLA, but just his story and just his tenacity and willing to command his life and not settle for what the universe was wanting to give him at that time is just really, really inspiring. Is one of the books that I read when I was at my lowest time, which was Live Your Dreams. And one of the quotes that I always remember was, if you fall down, land on your back, because if you fall on and land on your back, you can look up. And if you can look up, you can get up. So I'll leave you guys with that. That will conclude the weekly tap in. If you guys are new, thank you for those who are just tapping in for the first time. We convene every Monday at 7. Make sure you guys hit the subscription. If you haven't left a review for the podcast, please do so at iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever it is you're tuning into your podcast. And that will conclude the weekly tap in for this week. Tapping out.